Happy Sunday. Welcome to Let's Talk About You, our season finale. I can't believe the time has come and season 4, this is it. It is just always an honor and a privilege to come and share with you. And today, I love all my shows, but this show is like tugging at my heartstring. Um, it's truly going to be a family affair. I have my two magnificent nephews, my first nephew, my second nephew, and I have my daughter. And we're going to have a great conversation talking about pursuing your passion, what they're doing to pursue theirs, what they're currently doing in their lives, what's next for them. And it should pique a spark in you. What's next for you? What it is that you want to do? What's your passion? What's your desire? And now, without further ado, I'm going to talk to my nephew, Jermaine Arthur. He's an architect, a signage designer. He's a project manager of Community Restore, and he is so much more. And I want him to come and tell you, our listening audience, about him. Jermaine, welcome to Let's Talk About You. I'm so happy to have him come on.
Yes.
Wow.
Nice to be here today, this morning. Happy Sunday. You know,
Happy
um,
Sunday.
yes.
How
Yes,
are you?
well, just another beautiful day. Just hanging out right now, and I'm in Orlando right now. Just just enjoying the weekend. A beautiful day. Can't complain too much.
Isn't technology wonderful? You're in Orlando hanging out. I'm here in St. Thomas, and we still can make time to do this show. Let's talk about you and encourage people to pursue their passions. So I know that
Yes,
you
yes.
have done so much, and you've always been a creative soul, always been a creative mind from the beginning of time. And I want you to tell our listening audience and your voyage and your venture on where you where you began,
Yes.
what you've done, and what you're doing right now.
Well, for me, I'm a signage architecture designer, which I do, illuminated signage, monument structures. Also I do drawings for permits, for city zoning, building, electrical, and structural designing. I do for signage company, which I'm right now the art director of there at Kendall Signs. Which so I've been in the sign business about 20 years, and for me, well, I always been into art and drawing and stuff like that. So
Yes.
the architecture stuff came from when we used to travel to New Jersey, and then when we used to go to New York and to the Eiffel, to the Twin Towers and stuff. And I always ask Robert like, how did they build these bridges, and how did they build these, tall skyscrapers? So like I could always remember as a kid like driving from New Jersey to New York, it's like it used to always the buildings and things used to always interest me. So by
Intrigued.
the time I came to the States, I went to Kaiser University, I got my degree in computer science. And then I just say, man, I'm going to signage because I used to always be into arts and craft too. I was making medallions or making different handcraft stuff. So with the signage, which I always was amazed about signage too and structure. So I got into signage. So I started from an installer actually in 2004, 2005. And then I worked up to like production where, I learned about vinyl and actually making the sign. And then I did a little bit of manufacturing, which I learned how to do aluminum signs, meaning like structures and illuminated structures 10 feet by 20 feet or building signs like for stadiums. One of my first big jobs I did was Bank of America Stadium here over there in Sunrise, Florida, for the Panthers. And
Right.
one letter was like 16 feet tall. So from then I just
Wow.
really got interested into the signage type of stuff. Yeah. So now
But
20 years now, I still do the structural designing and it's pretty well.
well, even with the signage, some of the work that you've done artwork on vehicles, and I've seen that you won awards about that. Let's show some of the work that you've done with regards to making these vehicles totally blinged out and
Yeah,
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 and
that's a 4G auto. Yeah. See, with the car wrap thing was I learned about vinyl, right? But I don't know if you remember when I used to do body shop as a teenager over there in Nada when I used to paint cars. So I've been dabbling in a lot of anything to do with art. So I can remember back in 95, 96, we came out with a ice gold and green BMW. I don't know if you remember a
no, I didn't
BMW was
remember
a
that one.
regular. Yeah, so customizing cars from paint. But with vinyl, when they came up with this technology, I actually went to this company to learn how to do it on an expertise level where we started, wrapping like Bentleys and Ferraris, etc. And I was with this team for a couple of years, yeah. And we had this big 4G out of our car show that happens every year. And we had
Yes,
a selection of vehicles that we had, and we killed it, yeah. So with the car wrapping thing is something that is a new savvy thing with which a lot of people are really into, especially if you like to customize your vehicles. So that's something that I always carry with myself as a trade, like I was doing on the side because I could be doing graphic
it's
design.
called car. It's
You
called car wrapping.
car wrapping, yeah, vehicle wrapping. You could say vehicle because it could be a car, it could be a truck, it could be a boat. It could be anything. Any kind of vehicle or hard or heavy equipment. So with that being said, it's like with car wrap, I always took the up to like learn because you can't put all your eggs in one basket. So I took
True.
up car wrapping in that way, like graphic design. Yeah, is one thing, but now with a car wrap, it starts from like a wrap like say a Toyota Corolla or a Toyota Camry starting from like 35, 4,000 and make that in like 2 days,
Wow.
compared to, yeah, architectural design, it pay good too, but, you know, imagine, there's
Well,
a
that's
huge
a fact.
difference.
So, what
Yeah,
are those awards the awards that
like
you
for
won?
instance, that Ferrari, we charge him like 12,000 to do that, and
Wow.
we wrap that car in 2 days. So that's to just show
Impressive.
the profit margin and this, the how important that skill is. So patience and technique.
Well, you definitely have the technique. And what are the awards for? What do you call those awards?
Well, for Forgiato, we won the one with the Ferrari. We won a trophy for that one because it was a new technology. With that one, that year, the year before, they came up with chrome wrap.
Yes.
But now this year here, we came up with the first technology where we actually got chrome and we could have print on the chrome. So that's why it has this look like it's chrome, but they have like this pastel, like these splashes on there because you couldn't do that first. Chrome was just wrapped chrome. But we showed them that we could have get the chrome, print on the chrome, and put a laminate and still wrap it. So we won a reward for new technology basically. And then the other award was for the orange truck because it was glow in the dark. Like if you turn the
Oh,
lights on,
wow.
when you put a blue light on it, it would glow. It's like neon. It would glow. And then we did like the what you call the thing that they stand on with the wheels. Them things they used to wear back in the day. What you call those things where you stand on
The
there?
hydraulics,
Whatever.
they go up.
Yeah, all the kids used to ride on these things like the skateboard thing with the two wheels. You stand on it, you got a balance on it. I forgot the name
Right.
for that
Okay, I
thing, but
got
yeah,
you.
we wrapped the whole package with the same wrap, and we won a trophy for that too. So that year was very special for me too because I kind of worked hard, especially in a Ferrari, man. That was after I wrapped the Ferrari, you couldn't tell me anything. I could wrap anything. I would wrap it, anything for
Well,
real.
it is absolutely gorgeous. And you, as I said, from the beginning of time, I've always known you to be so creative. And you've shared your creativity with others. You've done such great work with the car wrapping, your engineering, your architecture, and now you're bringing it to others, to community. And I'm an advocate of community work. I'm an advocate about giving back. And you decided, I'm going to give back. So tell us about Community Restore, how you got involved, and what is this initiative about?
Okay, well, with Community Restore is something, the founders, Esther Blyden and Shanika Allen, came up in 2015, where we kind of started from doing backpack drives with when Pressure used to do the free concerts back in St. Thomas. We started from them back in 2015. But yeah, 3 years ago, Miss Esther came up with this idea where, because all of us have our own business, Sign Genie, she do construction. a lot of us do a lot of different things. So we came back to the initiative like, look, we, especially with all the things was going on in St. Thomas with the kids, they took out shop classes out of high school, all the different things. So we was like, you know what? How about we come not a summer camp where it's just like no fun again, but let's do something like a job core for the like a shop class again from 12 to 18 because that's the main important high school age because my age for me coming up from 12 to 18 that's the most important part where you got to try to at least expose the children these teenagers to something that they might be like, wow, and just to show them because, like I said, if I didn't go and do certain things, I would have never have access to these type of resources to know. I didn't know I was ever going to be a graphic designer. I never know I would have been ever be rapping
And
cards
you
or anything
always,
like that.
and you're right, because where you begin isn't necessarily where you end, but you always have the interest of doodling and drawing and sketching on everything.
Yeah, and everything. But with the computer, I like I tell them on the radio station, and the other thing that I've been on is like Neville Champy. When Champy had that computer class of this skills center back in early 2000s, right? I went to his class, and that's why I create my first Yahoo, Jermaine Arthur 2002 at yahoo.com. My first time actually like setting up an email and stuff, and Champy was the one who would teach me about Microsoft Word, and that's what about apps and about how the computer work and user friendly or not, whatever the case may be. That by the time I went to the States now, when I got into the Kaiser University, I was kind of already familiar with using a computer, because in St. Thomas, unless you having a business or you in the government or something, you wouldn't have access back then. In the early 2000s, you wouldn't really have access to even buy a laptop. Back then a laptop was like $1,500. Like it was thousands of bucks for a laptop. So you couldn't afford a laptop or a desktop. Jamila had one, but like I said, just to learn how to do computer science was very interested.
Well, I am so glad that
Very
you
much
were
so. Yes, it
everything
was.
that
So
everything that you were taught, everything that you were exposed to, you held on to it. You didn't take it for granted, and you wanted to learn more. You yearned and you desired to have more and more and more. And with a community restore, it's good that you guys take
uh,
your careers where you at and expose these young students, these young people, these individuals to there's a world so beyond what you're doing now, and they may be architects, they may be the next governor, president, the next whatever, and we need construction workers and plumbers and everything that you're doing, and the fact that they can use it with just with their hands and along with modern technology, and that's what I see that you're doing. You're taking
yeah,
technology.
and not only construction and hands-on stuff, but like we still do the photography. Next year, what we're trying to do, like we had this one young lady that came there with two iPads. So I'm like, what you got with two iPads? She want to learn how to do apps. So like next year now we're gonna have somebody, try to bring somebody that could be into more app development. Because for me, I'm a graphic designer, yeah, but app development is like a different kind of sector with codes and stuff. So and then even like how my son Jeremiah graduated was electrical engineer. He has a 3D machine. So maybe next year I could have him come and teach the kids them about electrical engineer because this year we had Whopper came in and Whopper actually came in with their own electrical engineering, which he's running Whopper. He's a young dude with braids in hair. I was like, damn, that could be like Jeremiah too running our power station like Whopper. So him himself will come back and teach these kids these different things. So anybody that have a knowledge or picked up a skill or picked up any kind of education, like even like Lamar or Cyana, what could teach these kids about, like we have photography, we have drones. Next year we had some movie producers down there this year, and we were supposed to go over there and meet with them because they try to they're filming this movie right now actually in high school, and they try to get like props and different people to come and be like fill-ins and stuff like that. So like people like Lamar and could always do big works when it comes to the film and the producer like Marcus. He have his own vlogs, and they do movies, they do a lot of clips and stuff down there in St. Thomas. They're really good at it. So with
Right.
producers like Lamar and like educators like myself who could teach these kids access, you want to be an actor, you want to be a, you want to be behind the cinematographer, being behind the camera, or if you want to be the person just an extra, or you have so much different casts. Like when you read the movies, they have all these at the end, they have the credits. You
Yes.
could be any of
You
those,
see your
you could
name.
be any
Yes.
of those people. You know what I'm saying? And make, yeah, they don't stop and watch it, but I say watch them credits. You see how much jobs there is? There's a lot of jobs, that's what you see in there, jobs. So all these things go into cooperation with anyone that has these knowledge or have the tools or the resources to expose these kids to a bigger level. That's what we need to do, because when I come and show them like Oprah or something, they get hype. They'll be interested, or show them people like
They
these
will. They
people
so
think
will.
because them young people, how it is that you gotta give them something to grasp. And when they see something like that, it's like, oh, they're more interested, they get into it, and then you show them, well, okay, it's hard work. You gotta do this, and then you'll be able to meet a woman like Oprah. You know what I'm
And,
saying? So like
and I'm
it,
glad that you mentioned the part that you have to give kids something to excite them, because I
yeah,
remember you always needed something to excite you, and to see where
yeah,
you are today. I'm so proud of everything that you're doing, because
yeah,
you were always tangible. You needed something hands on. You won't just
yeah,
take it for and just give you anything and say, Jermaine, go in the corner and be quiet. You always needed to be excited,
yeah.
and you're using that desire and that yearn to where you
So
were, and now
yeah,
you're doing so many things, and then you're coming and you're giving back.
and then
That
give him back.
is phenomenal, because giving back is priceless. Your time, we can never truly repay you for your time and your knowledge, because you paid for that. You went to college for that.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that is already a price on what it is that you have. And the fact
yeah.
that you're bringing it back to home, because you live in Florida now, and you're coming
Yeah,
home.
all of us. Hey, most of us. You know what I mean? Like most of us live, not most of us, but half of the team live abroad, like in Georgia, Atlanta, live, in Florida. Which soon I probably go back home and try to bring up the initiative, because it's not only the education, but my history where when you're dealing with adolescents, because what I've learned that when we have the camp, I had to like sometimes you have to like tell the kids like hold up, and I had to give them a speech like this. I ain't come here no bouginess. This is a free camp. Most of this thing we have sponsors, but most of this thing coming out of our pocket. One, and then two, we try teach our skills that if you are go somewhere else, they're gonna be charging your parents hundreds of dollars a week to come around here. We giving our free breakfast, free lunch, free education, free gems. So yeah, I need to listen, because I ain't coming here no Gucci like no thing with party. Like I tell them I come from in the I been there and done that with many things. So when I talk to her, I mean try to talk to y'all like I try to come over. I been there in different things where no, I try to show y'all once you do these good things in the world, and you find your way and you find yourself, you'll be able to come back and do the same thing. No matter where you come from. So we try to give everybody opportunity. We had people who even Indians, we had people from different demographics that came to our camp and learned a lot, and they everybody went home happy and proud and
Yes.
learned something
So how
and
can you
learned
be?
something.
So do you have to wait for the summer to be a part of Community Restore? Is it just for the summer?
Well,
We have
coming
to wait for a flyer, or is there something that we can do to
well, for us, this is the third annual one, and like I said, we just came up with this initiative as a group of ourselves. So everything we try to plan 6 months or plus in advance, and yes, we reach out to different people, of course, to help us with sponsorship. Our first 2 years was in St. Croix, so of course, we have to reach out to try to get sponsorship, but we always try to make it happen. So if we got to come out of our own pocket to make it happen, we make it
so tell
happen.
our listening audience, give them a telephone number, a name, point of contact. So if they're interested in donating or giving time, just say a name or a number, or we can link you on Facebook or what social media, or one of the founding members. So the members that are listening right now could be a part of Community Restore, because this is an excellent initiative.
Yes, yes. When I give the info before I leave, but I would just like to say that yes, for the summer is something that we would like to do every summer, and actually, if we could embed this thing during the school year with any resources that's down there where we could bring back something similar like the shop classes. That was so important. So if we
Yes,
could always connect with any veterans or any retirees or anyone that's out there that could invest their time to do a yearly thing. Even if we have grants or you get the groups or the government. Like I always tell them, we have too much different things that go on when it comes to those things. But I feel that it shouldn't when it comes to these type of stuff. So we're always willing to group up with whoever have the powers to be, or if you could get grants or whatever you may call it from the government department, whatever department. In that way, we could make it a year-long thing, and then the summer always because summertime they idle, they don't have nothing to do.
true.
So
I think
summertime. So
so. How long is the camp for the summer? Because I mean, even though I agree that they have stuff going on during the school year, but how long is the summer camp?
well, the summer camp, we have the summer camp for 1 week. Because like I said, it all goes back to funding.
Right.
If we could have come up with more funding, we do 2 weeks, we do 4 weeks. Depends on how the group come collectively and try to make it happen. But most of it is just off of funds, and a week is something that we, is good enough for us to balance. Wherever we might be getting from sponsorship and
Right.
whatever we working
And the
with
fact that you
ourselves.
guys have to fly in
We
from your
traveling, we
jobs and
traveling,
everything
and like we take work, or we invest our we take time off of work, come down there, try to make it happen, and just like I said, spread these gems to the kids and just let them to know that they could be somebody out here. No matter where
Well,
you're
I
from,
think
like.
that's an excellent initiative, and I hope our listening audience is listening. So, as you listen, audience, reach out so you can be a part of Community Restore, where they come and teach the kids life skills, career awareness. There's so many great things that they used to teach in shop classes. Now they're trying to do it in 1 week. So, sponsors, businesses,
Yeah,
if you would like to be a part of Community Restore, send us a message there. Message us and let's talk about you. And we
yeah,
definitely will contact the powers that be. Jermaine, don't go anywhere. I want to go on to my second guest. And then at the end, we're all going to come together and have a powwow. So stay on, don't
one,
move.
one sec,
And
one second, just info@communityrestore.org.
okay,
Info
so
at
info at community
communityrestore.org.
restore that is the email address. If you have
Email
any
contact.
questions, if you want to be a sponsor, please do info@communityrestore.org. So Jermaine,
Thank
don't
you.
go anywhere. If you have more information, more contact, we will speak about it closer to the end. Our second guest is um oh my goodness. She is my navel string, literally, my heartbeat, my daughter, Cyana Francis-Berkitt. She's currently a producer at ABC News, and so many great things that we want to talk about. Her beginning, where she went to school, and I'm just gonna bring her on. Kiana, girl, come out here.
Hi, hello, hello. I just want to clarify before we go forward. I am a producer at an ABC News affiliate in Boston, not the main ABC News. I'm at an ABC News affiliate in Boston called WCVB, if anyone wants to look it up. But yeah, I'm in charge of doing the eye opener show or the morning show. I do the 5 o'clock and the 6 o'clock half hours.
Great. Well, before you tell us more about the affiliate, I want you to tell us about your journey on deciding to become a journalist. What did you study in school? I know, but our listening audience need to know.
Okay. Well, the journey, you're trying to figure out what you're going to do in college, it's high school, in 11th grade, you don't know what to do. But I've always been interested in writing and in storytelling. Um, passions sometimes change. When I was really younger, for years, you may remember I wanted to be an astronomer for a very, very long time. And then at one point in high school, I was like, I don't want to do that anymore. So I was just really trying to dig deep and figure out, what it is that I like to do. One, And what is it that I'm good at too? What are these two things that I can sort of join together and come up with a career? So then I started doing research, and journalism interested me. So when I was doing my college search, I found a really great journalism school, Emerson College. Fortunately, I got accepted. I went to school. I graduated with a degree in journalism and a minor in political communications. And the school, I think, has really set a great foundation. Again, I already enjoyed writing. I'm already kind of nosy, so I be in people's business sometimes. um, um, so I was like, this is the perfect thing. But going to the actual school itself, learning the technicalities. One thing that I liked the most about it, I think, is learning different aspects of journalism, because I went in there thinking that I was going to be a print journalist, work for newspaper. I even did an internship at the Daily News after my freshman year. And I really did enjoy it. But I wanted to try something else. And the way that my school is set up is that you have to learn every sort of mode of journalism. You have to learn print, you have to learn multimedia, you have to learn broadcast. And for broadcast, you have to learn how to be a producer, and you have to learn how to be an anchor/reporter. And I think doing that was the perfect setup for me, because it got me thinking about, what I actually enjoy. And that might not be what I thought I would enjoy. Or even if I did that, what would I like more? So I joined an organization on campus when I was still deciding. I was in between, what path of journalism I would take. And it wasn't a news organization, but it was a broadcast television organization. And I worked as an associate producer. And it was so fun working behind the scenes and sort of coming up with the concept for the show and doing all of that. And I was like, I think I want to do broadcast now. So it was a little bit late when I made that decision, but I was able to work with my academic advisor. I had great professors who were able to, help me out and sort of steer me in the right direction. And that's how I ended up doing broadcast television. And I knew I did not want to be on TV because we had to learn how to do it. And it's just not for me, and that's okay. But I really, really enjoyed the production part of it, even when it did come to news. So that's sort of something that I focused in. And my professor, who was in my capstone course, she loved producers because she was like, there's such a need for producers, and there's not much people who want to be a producer. I'm so happy you want to be a producer. So she was really there to help guide me through that. So that was a huge help. And she helped me get my first job in the industry after graduation. So that's sort of been my journey through journalism, I guess.
So how long after graduation did it take you to find your first job?
I was a little concerned because I was in my head, I'm like, I'm gonna have a job as soon as I graduate. It's gonna be great. I did not, but it didn't take that long. I think I started work. I graduated in May and I started work in July. I know.
That
Leave me alone.
That is not long at all.
I know, but in my head, I was like, I'm gonna have a job as soon as I graduate. So
That is as soon as you graduate.
No, but I meant like on graduation day, I will already know what I'm doing, And it didn't happen like that. But it all worked out. I got a job as an associate producer at a news station in Rhode Island. And I worked there. And then a couple months later, the pandemic hit. So that was a big change, big adjustment, especially my first big girl job. But through that and through shifts and movement that happened because of the pandemic, I started, instead of associate producing, I was moved to produce the weekend morning show for about a year and a half, maybe. So the weekend morning show, it was a several hour long programs that I would produce. And, the team was small, as in anyone who works in local news will know. The morning team, especially the weekend morning team, is always small, but very, very resourceful. And I may not have appreciated it then because I was tired. But I really learned a lot through that, being able to tell a story in different ways, despite not having a giant team. And when the team was so small, we were able to work very, very closely together and be able to bounce ideas off of each other in ways that may not have been possible if the team were bigger. And it sort of makes you, think.
I'm just here just glowing and just saying, I need to ask a question. So I'm going to ask a question. So you talked about the pandemic, being a young journalist or just getting your feet in the door and working, and then something so impactful as the pandemic happening. How did that affect or impact you in any way, and what you were doing, since we on the outside were depending on you, the news, to let us know what's going on? Is it here? Is it there? Is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? What's going on? What was that like for you?
I think it was scary for everybody, and that includes people in news, because, while this was happening, there was a bunch of shutdowns happening. A couple months later, there was a rise in protests happening at the same time that we were sort of dealing with this pandemic. So it was difficult for us too, because, with everything closing, we were still working, whether we were working, in the building or remotely. I would happen to be in the building. We still, had to come into work. We had to get special documents when it was shut down. So just in case, we were pulled over on the road, since we weren't supposed to be outside, we would have something to say that we're an essential worker and we could work. And then at one point in the pandemic, sort of combating misinformation. When something like this happens, it's very early on, and people are very scared, and people were dying, and it was spreading quickly, and no one knew what was going on. And someone in the station got it very, very early on. So that was really scary, because it's like, there's a coworker, we don't know anything about this thing. It was just very, very a terrifying experience, just like it was with everyone else. But with the added stress, I guess, of, we need to make sure that the information that we're giving people is correct, because it changed so quickly, and the developments came in so quickly that, sometimes one day it was one thing, and then someone was like, well, actually, now that we've looked at X, Y, and Z, we thought it was this, but it's actually that. And I think a lot of times when, you see someone change their mind, or appear to change their mind on television, it's like, well, what's true? Are you lying to us? Right. Things like that. There's a distrust that happens. And I think that one of the hardest things was trying to, assure people that we are right here with you, and make sure that, we're giving you the developments, not because what we said before was incorrect, but because we're getting new information. And because we have new information, then that changes how things work. And so we were dealing with that. And then, as I mentioned, when all the protests over George Floyd's killing was happening at the same time, it was just a very, very intense time to be a part of the media, because, we report stories. Not everyone likes them. You get calls, you get emails. It's just a part of the job. It is what it is. But it was just everyone's emotions were very, very heightened at that time. So it was a stressful experience being working in that time, especially in journalism and in TV news. But it was comforting to know that, it wasn't just me. I wasn't the only one that was feeling this way. I wasn't the only one that was going through this. There's a community of people who are right next to me who are going through the exact same thing. And we have the same goal, is to inform people of what is going on in their neighborhood, is to let people know how they can stay safe, what we know from the doctors, the changes that are happening. And sometimes it's hard to balance that, because at some point you're just like, I need to sit down. I need to be myself. I don't want to go to work. I don't want to do anything right now.
So did you have a support system at work, or a support system to help you as you went through?
I did. There are a few coworkers that I was close to at the time, and I'm still close to some of them. One in particular, well, two in particular, actually. So they were really sort of my support system, who I knew that I could go to and be like, listen, I know that we're feeling this way right now, and I need help. I need someone to talk to. I need something, because this is a very, very, very stressful experience. We weren't getting any sleep. We were working 10 days in a row, 12-hour days. But I think that, all in all, we did what we're supposed to do as journalists. And at least I'm proud of the work that I and the team that I've worked with on the shows that I've done were able to do in that time, because no one was certain. We also had family affected by the pandemic, which I feel like a lot of people think of people who work in news as like other and who don't experience the same things that you do. But we know people who had COVID early on. We know people who died of COVID early on. So it was nice to have people in your corner, but it was also a pretty tough time. But at the end of the day, I am proud of the work that at least I was able to do.
Well, I saw the coverage, and yes, I made an effort to watch and support from the Virgin Islands on media. So I know that it was a hard time for everybody, at least from here. And I truly depended on what I heard from your news media so I could know what was going on. Not because it was just you giving the news, but I know that you got some information before we got it here locally. So thank you for that, because I know it was around the clock, constant. What's next? What's going on? What's the new word? What's the new word? What's the new word? And I would like to just put a little snippet in there that I know when you put your anchors to do their portion, it was always a positive message at the end to make the audience feel a little better. So those little words of encouragement that you made an effort to put in at the end of every show, that made a difference.
Yeah.
So I will say that. So
we
that's
tried.
when you're.
Go ahead.
I was like, I know that that was at NBC, but now you're at ABC, an affiliate.
Yes.
So go ahead.
The other one was an NBC affiliate as well, not the national NBC. Just need to make that clear. Anyways, go ahead.
So tell us now, and how long? I mean, great things has happened to you from waiting a long 2 months after graduation to get your first job.
Okay.
And then, having the opportunity. So how long were you at NBC?
I was there from July 2019 to November 2021. It's like 2.5 years.
Okay. And now you're at ABC. So at ABC, now that you're in there and you got your feet wet, and then you're doing your work and you're writing these stories, and then what?
Well, it was a different experience because, local news there's different local news markets. There's like 200 and something of them. And I made a pretty big jump from working in Rhode Island to working where I work now in Boston. And although it's not like physically a big jump in terms of a news market, it is. So I think the biggest change for me, the biggest shift for me was like, I have so many resources. There's so many people here that I can, work with. I think the baseline has stayed the same as we're reporting the facts. We need to let people know what's happening in whatever sense that may be: health, crime, things happening in the community, all of that. That has stayed the same, and that probably will stay the same across, wherever you go. But I think the biggest change was, it's a bigger city, so there is more happening. It's a bigger station. It's the proud to say it's the #1 news station in the Boston market.
Congratulations.
So it was just and there's just great people working at the station. I'm not saying there weren't great people at the last one, but the teams here, because I've worked at every shift in this current station that I'm working at. That's not exaggerating. I have worked every shift, and each one of them, the team is so amazing in what they do. They're so good at what they do. It definitely gives you something to look up to. You see someone do something with a graphic that you've never seen before, and it's like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't even know you could do that. And then they're very much willing to help teach you how to do X, Y, and Z. And then in return, when you learn something, then they're not afraid to ask, oh, hey, I didn't know that you can do that. can you teach me? Because I think that sometimes people think, if you've been in this industry for a long time, you run into people who have been here for longer, so they're not willing to ask younger people or newer people for help. But that has, for the most part, not really been my experience here. It's been a very much give and take type experience, which is why I think that the work that we do is so well put together. And I think it's a reason that, people receive it so well, is because, we're not afraid to work with each other because we understand that we're all here for the same common goal. It definitely does help to have, a bigger team. It definitely does help to have, we live in a bigger city where more things are going on. But I just, really the team of people, I think, is what stood out to me when I first started working there.
And having a supportive team and an impactful team helps push out what it is that you're trying to birth and help with what your desires and your passions are as well. And as you produced and pushed out your passions and heightened that, how long did it take for you to be nominated? Let's talk about that.
Okay, so I was nominated for 2 Emmy Awards for the Boston, New England chapter for 2 different newscasts that I did. I have the booklet right here for proof.
Well, we have the booklet too. We want to show the booklet. We have the booklet too.
I was just showing. So it was honestly, I knew that the Boston, New England Emmy Awards were a thing. I just never really thought about it for me. Not saying that I wasn't good enough or anything like that. It's just never something that really crossed my mind. I was just doing the work that I knew to do. And it was about, I don't even remember when it came out because we have to make submissions, and then if the submissions are accepted, then we're nominated. I don't remember the exact time that the submissions or the nominations came out, but it was early this year, I believe. And I've been working at the current station since late 2021. And the 2 stories that I was nominated for, one of them happened in September of 2022. And the other one, I believe, happened in March of 2022. So I was working there for less than a year for both of the stories that were nominated, which I'm incredibly happy with and I'm proud of.
Congratulations. That's a big deal.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
But like I said, it was never something that I really thought about, and there were definitely stories that I'm proud of the way that it came across on screen, because they were tragic stories as they were incredibly important stories, and there were stories that we've been either that we broke or that had been happening for a while and were breaking developments. And I think with stories like, I think we're going to see one in a couple minutes. It's sometimes hard as a journalist to balance between, especially with a very, very sensitive case, to balance between telling the public things that they need to know, and being considerate to the families of the people affected, and making sure that the work that you put out is not, it doesn't come across sort of as like disrespectful or insensitive, but it comes across as, this is something that, we have to tell you. This is something that, we've been following for a while. The community has been very, very invested into it. And we just want to make sure that we pay respect to the victim, and also get across how big this story is and how impactful it is. Because what we're about to see soon was a really, really sad case that we were following for a while about this little girl who had gone missing and was reported about a year after she went missing. And then, they declared her search case investigation into a homicide investigation. So it was very, very sad. It was very, very devastating story. But I'm proud of the work that our station did, because, through our reporting and the things that came out of that, it was actual tangible change. We saw changes to the DCF system. We saw, not just in New Hampshire where it happened, but officials talking in Massachusetts as well. We saw actual things happen, actual progress being made because of the work that not just me, but everyone at the station did, producers, reporters, directors, the news managers. And I think that is probably why it was nominated, is because it was just the culmination of so many things that have happened over the past couple months before that, and the change that was seen outside of journalism, off of television, in the systems that were involved in these stories.
Let's take a look and see, and then we'll come back. Let's take a look at the ones that you were nominated for.
Just a devastating development surrounding Harmony Montgomery. New Hampshire's investigators now believe that the girl was murdered back in 2019. They admit that this is not the update that anyone was hoping for, but they say that they have not given up on the effort to bring Harmony home.
Harmony is a sweet and innocent child who deserves to be brought home to her family and friends.
Just an absolutely heartbreaking situation. Hello, everybody joining us in Marinos.
And I'm Ben Simino. Ed's off tonight. Newsletter 5's Ted Wayman's been in New Hampshire all day following the updates. He begins our breaking coverage from the Capitol in Concord. Ted.
Ben, for 8, this has been a search investigation. Now it is a murder investigation for a little girl.
So that was just the opening, the first, I would say, 50-ish seconds of the 6 o'clock newscast for that day. It's the case for Harmony Montgomery. As you know, we heard a little bit, like I said before, her search mission had turned into a homicide investigation. And I thought personally, it was very important for me to include, I forget if he was the police chief in New Hampshire. But it was very, very important for me to include his sound because, usually police officers are very, these are the facts. Da-da-da-da-da-da happened. We're investigating this. But, this was a case that had touched a lot of people, and he choked up.
Yes, he was so emotional because he got me emotional when I saw that. Yeah,
that, we still want to bring Harmony home, even though, they believe that she has passed. They're still not giving up the efforts. I wanted to make that obvious visually with the graphics in our studio, because again, we have a great system, a great team of people who know how to do, make ideas come to life like that. But I also, like I said, the balance between telling a story and humanizing a story, I really wanted to humanize it. And I thought that, that emotional sound from the chief, I believe, was a very, very important.
Humanized it, yes.
And,
so
I think that to me set the tone for the rest of the show, because that was just 50-ish seconds of a 30-minute newscast. And I think that really set
and when
the
you
tone
talk
for
about
what
the 50 seconds, that little 50 seconds, like you said, it did set the tone. Timing is important with what you're doing, because what I may think is a minute or 50 seconds or 30 seconds, that's a lifetime for you.
Yes. Timing is everything in broadcasting. It's everything. Because you can't, finish a show late. You're going to either go into another programming, or depending on the station that you're in, just like fall off the air in the middle of your sentence, which does not look good. And then if you're not one of those stations who just fall off the air, then you cut into someone else's show and then they start halfway in, which also does not look good for them. So you're not just doing it for yourself and for your show, you're also being considerate of the other shows and the other commercials and stuff that people have already put in place there. So yeah, and I feel like a lot of people don't really realize that a lot of the stories that they're seeing are 25 to 45 seconds long. That's it.
But those are so impactful. So you actually grasp the importance of that short time. So tell us about the other story, because I want to know what you were thinking of when you were in the room with all the other journalists and anchors and producers. What did that mean like to you when you went to the gala and you sat amongst everyone, people that you looked up to, thought about?
I thought it was very interesting. You know how sometimes you have a little bit of like imposter syndrome? That's sort of how it felt. I'm like, these people have been in the industry, a lot of them, for so long, and they're doing work. And something that I liked about it is that it wasn't just hard news. It was also fun things that were happening. Oh my gosh, I didn't know you had that picture. So it was really nice to see not just people from my station, but from people all across New England, because this award show covered all of New England, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts. And just seeing how, you know, it's a room full of people from different areas in New England, but we, again, all have the same goal. Even if you're not in hard news, your goal is still to tell this whatever story it is that you have, is to tell it in a way that, you know, gets all the information out there, but also in a way that makes people want to watch, because it's broadcast. You're gonna have people need to watch. So it was just a cool experience. I was like, I got to dress up, I got to see, you know, different people, I got to see little snippets of their work. It was sort of a surreal experience is the only way that I can describe. I got my makeup done. That was exciting. So it was a very, very surreal experience to be among all those people, some that I knew, some that I didn't know. And to really see that, you know, all of these people whose work has, you know, impacted change, whether it's with this story or whether it's with something else, because we're not the only station reporting the stories that are happening. You know, everyone at every station is working incredibly hard to make sure that the work that they do is the best of the best. The fact that I got to be in the room with the best of the best was very, very humbling experience for me. And I very rarely think about it, but when I do, I'm just like, what is going, I don't get it. But it was really cool. It was really cool to be there.
So what would you like to tell young Cyana about this experience?
You know, it's all going to work out. Opportunities are going to come, whether you think they will or not. You know, I wasn't expecting this opportunity to come to me at all. There's someone who actually worked at my last station who was like, you know, Cyana, I think that the work that you do is really, really great. I know that this station in Boston is hiring, and you should put in your application. And I was like, I guess I'll do it, but I genuinely, I didn't think that I would get it. But I got the interview, and then, you know, we went to stage 2 to meet in person, and I got the job. And I think that this is where I was supposed to be at that moment, or at this moment, because I've learned so much. I've met so many people. I've been able to accomplish, I think, I've only been here for a year and a half, well, almost 2 years actually. And I feel like I've been able to accomplish and to learn so much in that time. I just would say to just trust where you are. If people see something in you, even if you don't see it in yourself, don't doubt them. I think that is probably the biggest thing for me, is that sometimes then, and even now, every once in a while, you know, someone would say something about me or see something in me that I don't see myself. And I'm like, no, stop. But believe them, even if you are not experiencing that for yourself, or even if you don't believe it's true, if someone sees potential in you, they see talent in you, they see drive in you, feed into that. If it's positive, not if it's negative, obviously. Feed into that, because a lot of times, you know, when you're in something, the only thing that you can see is what's like right in front of you, and not everything else around you. So I would just tell her to be more present, and you know, to believe people when they say that you're good at what you do.
Well, I mean, I can talk more, but I have one more guest, but I don't want you to go anywhere, because I do want to circle back around and see the other show before we close out that you did. But I am proud of you. I want to say congratulations, and I am glad the advice that you give younger Cyana. You know, when people give you a compliment, believe them, even if you may not believe it yourself, and that will give you the help you see your purpose and see that you're on the right track, that you're going where you need to go.
Yes, mother.
Yes, daughter. But we're not doing the mother-daughter thing. This is an interview. and it is just but it was definitely a heartwarming situation for me that my daughter that just started a job and within less than a year was nominated not for one but two Emmys. Actually it was three, but it was narrowed down to two Emmys. I mean, three Emmys. Are you kidding me? And I will get into a little later as to why we didn't want to tell the world about why it was on the hush hush, but the importance of that, and also being open to sharing your, because sharing your wins help is not only so much so we're not being bragging or haughty. It actually can inspire someone else, especially coming from a small community. Okay. So don't go anywhere. I want to see you on. I have so much to talk to you and Jermaine about, but I need to bring on Lamar, my other nephew, my Tony nominated, the actor, the producer. This is truly a family affair, and I am so excited to be bringing it on here. And let's talk about you at our end of season 4. This is the best celebration for me. And let's talk about you to have my family, my phenomenal beings that's connected to me. I mean, oh Lord, thank you, Lord. I am humbled here today. Lamar, come on out, Lamar Richardson. Lamar. My tissue is going to be soaked by the time I'm finished here today. I am so excited. Hi, Lamar.
Hi.
Welcome to Let's Talk About You. And I am so excited to talk about you.
I'm so happy to be here.
Yes. This is the second time that you're here and Let's Talk About You. And I'm so glad that you never tell me no. And even if you want to, I'm glad you don't.
Never.
So for those of my listening audience that don't know who Lamar Richardson is, other than my nephew, tell our listening audience about Lamar Richardson, where you started and where you are now, because I have so much to say. I have lots to share. So let's get into it.
I'm an actor and a producer. And, it's just such an honor to be here. Fresh off the Tony nomination, it's just been an amazing journey that started over a decade ago at this point. And it's just really amazing to see how much has been accomplished, through all the struggles and the highs and the lows and the big, long waiting game that it's been. I went to Columbia University, and during my junior year, I decided to take a chance on myself and to pivot and to jump headfirst into pursuing a career in the arts. And, ever since then, it's just been a big, long roller coaster. And it's really just amazing to see what's been birthed from it.
Oh, well, I'm so glad that you use the phrase jump, because that's an inside joke between you, Cyana, and I about jumping.
Yes.
Jumping off that cliff.
Yes.
Well, I am so glad that you did it. And when you talk about pivoting, so many times that we have an agenda in our minds. This is what we need to do. This is what needs to get done. So tell us about pivoting, why that was important for you.
Yeah, so at the time, I was on a pre-business track. I had done an internship at MetLife my sophomore summer in the sales department, and then I was geared up to go work at Barclays Investment Bank my junior summer after an operations and finance boot camp. And during my MetLife internship, one of the team members said, "What are you doing working in insurance? With all that personality, shouldn't you be in entertainment?" And at the time, I remember being offended and saying, "What's that supposed to mean? I can be here." But then, it planted that seed that I then went on to explore later on. And, it was just a thing where I was doing theater on campus with the Black Theater Ensemble. I was really finding myself to be fulfilled, really getting into my artistic expression. And I had always been a performer, as a hobby of sorts through church plays and things in the community, but it was never let me do this as a career. But in that moment, I just said, hey, I'm in New York City. I'm young. Let me just try it. What's the worst that can happen aside from, potentially failing? But even then, it's not failing because I learned a lesson. So I just literally got those first set of headshots, jumped on background set, working on Boardwalk Empire, and the rest has been history.
Well, I just love it because you started with doing commercials, and tell me if I'm getting the sequence correct or not. So I remember you doing AT&T commercials with the watches and something with the feet. So I would always say, that's my nephew's hand. That's my nephew's feet. And then the next sequence, you started doing TV drama. You did Blue Bloods, and you did tell us about it.
Yeah, so it's funny. So the hand modeling career started when I went in for an on-camera Samsung commercial, and they said, "Oh, you have really nice hands." That led to a 4-month-long job of reoccurring commercials, all based on phones and hands, and that started my hand modeling career. That has been its own separate thing alongside over the years. Then I got into film, TV. I used to do a lot of investigation series, over my dead body, investigation discovery shows on, history detectives, things like that. Then I got into Blue Bloods, FBI, New Amsterdam, more of the network television procedurals. And then theater, I was always doing theater. And then Ma Rainey's Black Bottom was my first big show, after Phylicia Rashad.
Yeah, let's talk about Ma Rainey's Big Bottom. Let's talk about that. Let us talk about that.
Yeah, so
I was so excited that my nephew is doing Broadway. Wait, what?
So at the time I was, working at a studio, and Phylicia Rashad was coming to be a part of a screenplay reading that we were having for a new film. And it was basically about a group of kids at a halfway house, and a Harvard-educated law student was coming to volunteer and do his work there. I was supposed to be the lead kid in that camp, and then at the last minute, I got recast into a significantly smaller role. And I was devastated because, I wanted to be the lead and have Phylicia see me act and, have all these great scenes. But it was fascinating because I got cut down to a significantly smaller role. And it was through what she saw in those short scenes that she was then able to offer me this job without me even auditioning.
Well, Phylicia Rashad, where you were hooking hands with, she saw everything with 2 little lines. So, little is much when God is in it. That's not a myth. It's a fact.
Yeah. And and ever since then, it's just always been, she's like my fairy godmother. I spoke to her 2 days ago. I'm forever indebted to her. Like Cyana said, she saw something in me at a time when I didn't even see it in myself, and literally pulled me out of that studio, took me across the country to LA, and put me on that stage with industry veterans.
Oh, and you've definitely met some industry veterans. I know that I've pulled down a plethora of pictures of people that I know and I admire person as that person. So when you I mean, you just Danny Glover and Lynn Whitley and Alfie. I mean, these are just great people that I've seen from the beginning of time. And I remember as a little girl, I did not like Danny Glover. I hated him. And, I hated him because he was an excellent actor. The first time I saw him was in The Color Purple. And what he did to Celie, that actually impacted me for a long time. So when I saw him in other shows with Mel Gibson, where he acted I lost the show right now where he
Oh,
acted with
yes.
Mel Gibson, and I was like, yeah, he's doing a good job, but he's not a nice person. And it was not him. It was his character was just so phenomenal. I just held a grudge against character almost.
That's a good actor. That's a good actor.
Yes. And you two are an excellent actor because they're seeing you. And what, one thing that I always loved about you is your humility. It's never been, it's about me. It's always about, it's about